Achievements, man. Every game has them, but they are not all made the same. Some can be as easy as completing the game's tutorial, and others are as hard as getting #1 on the leaderboard of a dead game. GTA 5 and Online are no different, with some achievements being extremely hard to get, including having one of the rarest achievements in the world, with only 0.01% of all players having completed it. So today, we are going to look at some of the hardest achievements to earn in both GTA 5 and Online. Now, for the sake of this video, I want you to imagine that all of these achievements are being obtained by the first person that ever got them. What I mean by this is imagine for a second that guides do not exist. Obviously, that's not the reality with the game being 11 years old now, but someone had to be the first to get it, and they had to put the work in to figure it all out before a guide was even made. So with that in mind, the first achievement on this list is Live a Little. Live a Little is an achievement added to GTA Online, a part of the Heist update in 2015, and required you to earn and then spend $8 million on cars included in the update. While on one hand, this achievement isn't hard to obtain skill-wise, it does take a good amount of time to get, which is another big factor for the trophies on this list. While you could earn a significant amount of money through the heists when they were added, $8 million back in 2015 was still a lot of money. However, there were some methods to cheat the system by buying and selling the same car, like the Kuruma for example, over and over again. While definitely not the hardest achievement in the game, Live a Little does set a good basis for what we're going to see later on this list. Moving on, we have one that's pretty self-explanatory, and that's Career Criminal, which is obtained by 100%ing the game. I can already hear people typing in the comments that it isn't necessarily hard to complete this, but again, I want you to imagine completing this feat without a single guide. Like for example, traversing the map and including the water looking for small pieces of paper and spaceship parts would take an unimaginable amount of time. And there was someone out there that had to complete it in order for a guide to be made in the first place. Not to mention how much time it would take to do all the missions, strangers and freaks, side hobbies, and literally everything else in the game in order to 100% it, which is why this achievement made the list. The next achievement would arguably take you around the same amount of time to do as the last one without a guide. Above the Law is awarded for reaching level 100 in GTA Online. What I want you to keep in mind is that this is an achievement that was featured in the original release of GTA Online back in October of 2013. And if you were around playing back then you would know that gaining RP was an absolutely grueling grind. The only thing you could do to gain a good amount of RP quickly was playing Rooftop Rumble over and over again. And even that wasn't a particularly quick method. Obviously, however, we all know how broken this area of GTA Online was, and there were definitely some crazy RP glitches you could use to bypass this. But doing it legit in this era would arguably take you over a month or two of grinding to complete, but getting the turbo for your car was more than worth. Next on our list is Numero Uno, the first one that actually takes a decent amount of skill. Numero Uno is awarded for winning one of every competitive game mode in GTA Online. Once again, this is one that probably takes more time than actual skill to complete, although it does take a good amount of skill, and arguably more now than ever. The achievement only accounts for the game modes available at the launch of GTA Online, which includes a deathmatch, team deathmatch, land race, air race, sea race, GTA race, rally race, arm wrestling, darts, golf, tennis, survival, ammunition shooting ranges, parachuting, and a gang attack. Now, this is actually an achievement that is probably harder to complete now than ever because everyone is overall better at the game than they were back in the day. Our next achievement is another that takes a fair amount of skill, but for a completely different reason. The Close Shave achievement is obtained by completing every single Under the Bridge challenge as well as the Knife Flight challenges. I can't even lie to you, this might be embarrassing for me to admit right now, but after all this time, I didn't even know that Knife Flight challenges were a thing. For those who may not also be aware, the Under the Bridge challenge requires flying under 50 bridges, and the Knife Flight challenges is flying between 5 certain buildings. While not entirely hard to complete, especially if you're going to use a helicopter for the under the bridge challenges, it would more so take a decent amount of time. Mostly given the fact that if you mess up, you're going to have to go and grab another plane or helicopter in order to attempt it again. Now is when we start to get into the achievements that will make you pull your hair out in frustration trying to complete. The achievement Solid Gold Baby requires you to get 70 gold medals on either main story missions or a mix of strangers and freaks as well. Some gold medals are pretty hard to get in GTA 5 on their own, but trying to get 70 of them is an insane challenge not worth your sanity. Even though you can technically handpick which missions you use to complete this achievement, you need to complete the game first in order to have access to all the missions you want to use, making this even more time consuming than I originally thought. Not to mention, you do need a decent amount of skill in order to complete most of the challenges anyway. Now, the last two achievements on our list were added during the Doomsday Heist and are seen by players as easily being the hardest challenges that GTA Online has to offer. And the first one is Elitist. To obtain the Elitist achievement, you must complete the Elite challenge for every act finale in the Doomsday Heist. There are a few different reasons that this challenge is extremely difficult. Number one is that nobody can die throughout all three finales, which puts this out of the question for me and my boys. And number two is because if you don't own the correct facility, the time challenge on the mission can quite literally be impossible to complete. For example, if you own Lego Zancudo, which I do, and you're doing Act 1, the time it takes to even get to where this mission takes place makes completing it in under 5.5 minutes impossible. So you need someone in your group with the right bunker for each finale. All of this isn't even taking into the fact that your reward in-game is only an extra $150,000 for completing the challenge, which doesn't even make this extra challenge worth it for most players. But even with that, there is still one more challenge that makes this achievement seem like a tutorial. Masterminds is an infamous achievement in the community as being the hardest challenge the game has to offer, and one that only 0.01% of all console players have ever completed. The requirements are simple. All you have to do is complete all of the Doomsday Heist setups and finales on hard difficulty 3 different times with 2, 3, and 4 players without dying a single time. There are some specific requirements for the Masterminds achievement as well, like having to complete the entirety of each heist with the same group start to finish, but the challenge still stands. Now, this challenge isn't to be confused with the Criminal Masterminds medal in GTA Online, which is completed by doing all of the 5 OG heists in order on hard difficulty with the same team and no deaths, which is also a feat of its own. It's just the reward doesn't give you an achievement. It's no wonder that very few players have even attempted this. This challenge, I would argue, is harder than doing every other achievement on this list with your hands tied behind your back while tripping balls and the screen turned off. You need the skill to not die on hard difficulty, a team that will take on this insanity with you, and the dedication to reset all your progress if you fail even once. But nevertheless, if you happen to try and complete this for yourself, you could go down in history as having one of the rarest achievements in all of gaming. And that ends the list of the hardest achievements in GTA 5 and online.